Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. In this episode, I have a really special guest with us today. You may know her series, The Love But Taipei, and if not, you may have watched the movie Love in Taipei. And this is Abigail Hing Wen. Hi Abigail, how are you today?
Hello, it's so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So please introduce yourself and maybe talk about your latest book series.
Yeah, so I am the author of the Love Boat Taipei series, the first book which was adapted to the movie Love in Taipei that's now out on Netflix. And my newest book is Kisses, Codes, Conspiracies, which just came out in August from Macmillan. And it is actually set much closer to home for me. It's in the Bay Area, so you can see the San Francisco Bay Bridge in the background. And it features Tan Lee, who is a Palo Alto kid. His parents work in cryptography. He is actually really big into cryptography too, but he doesn't realize how good he is. And the girl next door, literally, she and her mother, Winter Wu, are renting out the back rooms of his home while her widowed mom gets back on her feet and goes to law school by night. And their parents end up leaving them to babysit his younger sister together, not realizing they're attracted to each other. But then to complicate things, his ex-girlfriend Rebecca shows up from Shanghai with a bunch of Tang Dynasty coins in her possession that are much more than they seem to be, and a bunch of international thugs on her heels. And so that sends the three of them on this wild caper around Silicon Valley, trying to escape, but also in the process, like navigating this love triangle and figuring out things about themselves that they never knew.
Honestly, just by the description, sounds quite interesting. So anyone interested in like mysteries, romance, all those things, or just like love Abigail's work and would just like to try something new, this is the book for you. I'll be linking Abigail's website, so don't worry about like finding it. I'll just link everything in there. And so, Abigail, what was like the process? Like, I know like Love with Taipei, the whole Love with Taipei universe series that you had was kind of different from this, more like, romantic. It was more about like, this kind of boarding school, if you will, but they were kind of learning about their culture. So how did you kind of feel like it's time to move on from the series and like try something new?
Yeah, well, I had a blast writing the Love Boat Taipei series. It's, as you know, it's a trilogy now, and there's two trips to the Love Boat program, one ever in the first book and the third book following her younger sister. And so I definitely felt like I got to explore a lot about cultural identity. What does it mean to be a person who grows up between cultures? How do you integrate all these aspects of yourself so you can be your full self at the table? And then also that dynamic between parents and kids that was very common for the kids of immigrants, just growing up in two different cultures. But I think with Kisses, Codes, and Conspiracies, it just came out as a young adult thriller, and I'm grateful that my editor allowed me to make it that way. So it is a romantic comedy, but it is primarily a thriller, and so it's not this like angsty character study. Even though the characters they do have growth arcs, and they are they're multidimensional people and they're humans, like which is part of my hope in all my works is that my characters are well rounded. But it's really more like it's an adventure story in which the characters happen to be Asian American, and I think that's like partly part of what we do too. Like we write these deep character studies, but we can also show characters that just happen to be the main characters of really cool stories.
I love that honestly. Like, that's the number one thing that I love about writers is that like there's not a lot of, at least not in the past. I mean, now there's so much diversity in what we are reading. In the past, we never really saw Asians on the front cover. We might see them, but they're always like almost like vilified. Like they made either villains or they just made super like unrealistic, like they just have no brains, or like they just give them like these properties that make them seem like, oh, they're not smart or they're not like,
They're
good
flat,
people.
yeah, they're flat
Yeah,
stock characters.
they're
Yep.
often like side characters. In fact, I'm like very happy to see that we are getting this representation, not for the sake of representation, but rather we're seeing them as these dynamic, full characters who have a purpose and are not just like there for the sake of existing and saying that, oh, I'm doing diverse writing and I'm doing something good for the writing universe.
Absolutely.
And so, like I know that Love Boat Taipei became a movie, right? Would you say that you found more people coming to your books through the movie, or would you say the book was the main focus?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't fully know the numbers because we have books in other countries. So the Love Boat Taipei books have been translated now to 12 languages. And the movie itself is also, because Paramount is global, is also in many different countries. And I don't know my numbers. So I do think that the two work together for sure. Like the books help to build the buzz. They help to find like the most excited and committed audiences. And those people went out to find, when the movie came out, those people were the ones who really evangelized getting word out, especially because it came out during a double strike in Hollywood. But then for sure, there are people who watch the movie first and then they discover the books. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for the synergies on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, the cast was amazing. So, how was your experience working with the cast, and like, would you want your latest book, Kisses, Codes, and Conspiracies, to be kind of like, turned to a movie too? I mean, I know like that's not in your hands; it's more up to like people if they want to option it. But like, would you be willing to work with the same people? Any plans for like Dreamcast members, things like
Yeah, well,
that?
I had a wonderful time filming Love in Taipei. It was during pandemic, which I think in a lot of ways protected us because we were just in Taiwan all by ourselves making this movie. And we got to experience Taiwan together. Like we went around the night markets, we went clubbing, we tried new things. Um, and yeah, I really dearly love each of the cast members. I'm still in close touch with them. I'm actually doing another project now with Julie Liao, who is the mother of my lead, Ashley Liao, as well as Janet Shea, who plays Auntie Claire in the films. And so, and then I'm just in touch with everybody in general. Like we are supporting each other. We just did a San Diego Comic Con panel where I brought in Chelsea Ashley and Janet, among some other Asian American actresses. And, I think those friendships are forever. And I didn't know that I would have that opportunity to do that. So, yes, for sure. I'm excited to do more projects. I have so many more books and scripts in the works and excited to share more when those are public.
That's honestly beautiful. Just like, again, as you said, connection, right? It's very hard to find that these days, especially with like social media. I mean, of course, made things way easier. Like, I was able to connect with you, find like, ways to get you on the podcast. The podcast is a thing because of social media, because like social media kind of made it a thing. But like social media has made this thing also like connection has become hard because like a lot of people are just on their phones all the time. But it
Hmm.
also has like on the positive aspect of it, it's great connection because we are trying to connect and network with people who we may not have done otherwise.
That's right.
And so like I know like I don't wait, I remember you mentioned the auntie who was there in the book or in the movie. Was she there in the book? I don't That's actually the question I've been having for quite a long time. Like were there some characters in the movie that were not in the book? Because I do not recall the auntie ever being in there.
Right, yeah. So Auntie Claire, who's Rick and Sophie's aunt, the one who throws the big party, she's in the books. But Auntie Shu was an addition. And I think she kind of takes the place of the ballet teacher that Ever finds in Taipei.
Mhm.
So I think they brought her a little closer to home so she could keep Ever's ties to her family. And she's the one, in the movie, as you know, she's the one who brings Ever's mom and dad to Taipei in the end. So yeah, that's how I think of her. It's the ballet teacher closer to home.
So would you say like you would like the idea of having like Auntie Shu be there instead of the ballet teacher? Or would you have preferred the ballet teacher?
It's good. I think I liked that there was a closer tie because with movies, you just have much less real estate. You have to
Hmm.
make it more efficient. And you want that for books too. If there's an opportunity to bring things closer to home and do double duty with the same character, then I think that's always helpful. For the story, for the novel itself, because there was more room to breathe, there was more room just to have different characters coming in and out of Ever's life.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last and final question for you is for your books, like specifically like the Labo Taipei series, especially since like it's like one of the bigger series. How did you come up with the main character names?
So with Ever, I think I actually met someone named Ever and I liked the name, but I realized that a Chinese American immigrant family would not have named their kid Ever. And so it ended up being like they named her Everett, a mistake, not realizing it was a boy's name. And she shortened it to Ever.
Yeah, I mean, and also like, like with guy names, it's super hard to like choose names. So how did you go about that aspect?
Yeah, I can't actually remember how I gave Xavier his name. I think I've always just liked the name. But Rick actually comes from Frederick, which I think is like a Sound of Music
Hmm.
reference.
Yeah.
So my husband also has Sound of Music names in his family. And I think that was kind of a thing. Like my parents' like generation really loved watching Sound of Music, and so they made all of us watch it. I actually love it. So I think that was kind of a nod to his family and the influence of that musical on a whole generation.
I love that. That's honestly like I love that, because like every time I ask this question, not that it's often because I try to like make things different and fresh, I always like get these super interesting questions, like answers. Like some people just say they eavesdrop on conversation, just like sometimes you hear just like interesting names, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, your manager's name is like the most beautiful name I've ever heard. I'm not
I
gonna say it because I don't want to like, have people searching around for who this is. But like, her name is just beautiful, honestly. And like they're just like you just find names. I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a writer too. And so like for me, I'm just like always listening into conversation, not on purpose, obviously, because like my ears are just there. They just picks up on stuff. But like, just like the overall, it's just super fun to create like characters, the worlds and everything. And yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what artists do, right? You observe the world in a special way.
absolutely. Thank you so much again for being on the show. I had a great time chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you. And people can find me on social media. I'm at Abigail Hing Wen. People can also sign up for my newsletter. I send out occasional like updates on events. That's at my website, abigailhingwen.com. And then, I think in terms of supporting, it's always helpful when folks come out to events, but also like really we're looking for more ratings. It's actually hard to get the community to rate on Amazon and Goodreads, but those ratings on those platforms actually end up helping to push the book out even further. So really always appreciate folks rating, taking a moment just to leave a rating for the book.
Thank you so much. Everyone listen to this episode. Be sure to check out the latest book. This is Codes and Conspiracies. I'll be linking Abigail's website and the Goodreads link so that it's easy for you guys to rate it and read it and review it. Do all the things. This will really help Abigail push out the book and help further the community that she has built. Thank you so much again, Abigail, and I wish you all the best with your future projects.
Thank you so much for having the chat.
Thank you so much. Everyone, this is the end of the episode. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you all next time.